Hi, I'm Johanna Kitchell, Orchestra Director at Riverside Junior High in Fishers, Indiana, and I'm going to show you some quick fixes for some bad habits you might see with your bass players. Perfect posture is preparation for perfect playing. I even have that as a banner across my classroom. So make sure that your bass players are set up right in the first place, but if you're seeing some bad habits, here are some quick ways to fix them. One of the first things we see is that bass players like to grip the neck with their thumb on the side and their whole hand wrapped tightly. This is probably because they are holding and carrying the bass that way, and also because they feel like their bass is gonna fall. So a few things: you wanna make sure their thumb stays behind, and you wanna make sure that they're supporting the bass from their body, not from their left hand. Sometimes bass players also squeeze their hand really tight. They squeeze to press down the strings. Bass is a big instrument with thick strings and they have a long way to push down, but you want to make sure that your students aren't squeezing their hands. And a few ways you can look at this. You can have them practice just pulling their hand backward. I even have my students take their right arm and hold the same setup on their right arm. If they squeeze, it hurts their right arm. Instead, I have them practice pulling those fingers down on their right arm, and they can feel the difference. You can also have them do the same thing by supporting their hand on a door frame and pulling down on the door frame. Another thing that happens oftentimes is a dropped left elbow. You want to make sure that your students keep their left elbow up. It doesn't need to be really high, but you don't want it to touch the bass. If you're having your students put their left hand up from the ground, they're often going to have that dropped left elbow. Instead, have your bass students stick their left hand straight out and then bend it in to place it on the fingerboard of the instrument. That will give a nice natural shape to the left elbow. You want to double check that your bass players have good body position. You don't want them bending over their bass too far or leaning away from their bass when they play. You want a nice, straight, tall body with relaxed knees. You also want to make sure, whether it's a French or a German bow hold, that they're not squeezing their bow too tightly. Having a relaxed bow hold, whether French or German, will ensure that your students can have a good motion and a great sound. Keeping an eye out for these bad habits and using these quick fixes will ensure that your bass players are properly set up.